Good evening. As a sister city to New York, London is sharing some of the shock being felt across the Atlantic. And as it sinks in, we're increasingly turning our thoughts to how we'd cope if it happened here. Tonight, London is on a high security alert. Ken Livingstone has been briefed by senior Met police officers. The headquarters of the London Stock Exchange were evacuated, and American staff at Citibanks were told they could go home. As the terrible news broke, London came to a standstill. Many of us were glued to the nearest TV screen, watching live images of the most horrific terrorist assault.
Many here sought out television screens to watch events unfold, united by complete disbelief. Pubs, restaurants, offices reduced to silence. While on London's streets, many people lingered incredulous.
Just trying to get a grasp on how many people work in those buildings. I mean, I don't know how tall they are, but there's a lot of people and they could not have got out, so that's
I can't say anything about it. I'm just totally in shock. That's all I can say at the end of the day. I mean, what can you say at the end of the day?
At Canary Wharf this afternoon, meetings were held outside. Hundreds had evacuated their offices here and at other high-profile buildings like the London Stock Exchange. Some people feared London might be targeted too. Some said they felt a real sense of panic. With people heading home tonight reading about something they could scarcely comprehend, London's Mayor Ken Livingstone sent a message of condolence to New York's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, a man he's met several times. All Londoners, he said, were stunned at this, quote, monstrous attack on the city.
Well, live now to Canary Wharf and our reporter Paul Curran. Paul, we saw people leaving the tower there in Tim's report. What's the situation now?
Well, the building is still open, although, as you can imagine, most people have gone home for the day. Some firms took the decision to send their staff home as soon as the news came back from America. However, though, there's also a lot of work still going on. The One Canada Square, which many people know as Canary Wharf, is home to the Daily Telegraph, and I've just spoken to their news desk, and they were given the option if they were unhappy to go home, but as you can imagine, journalists there are working through the night to cover this massive story.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, Ken Livingstone has been briefed by senior Met officers about the implications for London. Do you know what they told him?
We don't know the exact details. All we know is that he's had a detailed briefing on the phone from the Metropolitan Commissioner's office. Coincidentally, the Metropolitan Commissioner himself, Sir John Stevens, was on a flight to New York, and that plane was turned back when news of the attacks came in. And Scotland Yard is saying at this stage they're keeping a close eye on what's happening in America and looking at the implications for London in particular and the country in general. Thanks very much, Paul. As the news of the attack spread around the world, American expats were frantically calling home for news of family and friends. Live now to Gillian Joseph, who's outside the US Embassy in Grosvenor Square. Gillian.
Well, the embassy has stepped up security, as you can see behind me, but the embassy hasn't actually been evacuated. Staff are still inside, making frantic calls, as you say, to family and friends abroad to find out what exactly is happening. None of the staff would speak to us. They're too emotional, too upset, too shocked. But we did manage to speak to some tourists outside the embassy.
We have so many friends and children of our friends that work in New York and can't even get through on the transatlantic phone lines right now. Everything's jammed, so we thought we'd go out for a walk and wait for things to develop. But it's a terrible, frightening tragedy.
And it's like you said, we were just saying that it's like watching something in a movie or out of a novel. This really isn't happening. And who can do such a thing?
Well, the embassy is open as usual tomorrow morning from 8:30, and I'm sure many people will be coming here as their first point of reference to find out exactly what's happened. We have got a statement from the American ambassador. He's thanked the Prime Minister, Tony Blair, for his words of sympathy and strength. His comments remind us all that the United States and Great Britain stand together in every circumstance as allies, partners and friends. Jules.
Thanks, Gillian. The latest information now we have on our airports is that all flights to and from the US are suspended. Airports owner BAA, which operates Heathrow, Stansted and Gatwick, is advising passengers, especially if you're travelling to the US, to contact the airline before departing for the airport. All flights into and out of Luton and City airports are operating as normal. The latest information and contact numbers are on our London Live website. Many people have already left messages of support on that website. You can also comment. We have message boards and a condolence book on that website. There's special programming on London Live 94.9. That's until midnight tonight. That's all from us this evening. We will have an update for you later tonight. Now it's back to News 24 for a special programme. Goodbye.